welcome to the channel. Today what we're going to talk about is how we can integrate a conversational chatbot experience using Power Virtual Agents and integrate it with a live agent system provided by Dynamics 365 Omni Channel. Let's go. So let's talk a little bit about why this episode is important. So chatbots provide a means of deflection while providing customers with self-service capabilities. And what this means is, I'm sure every organization would love to be able to have one-on-one conversations with customers, but financially it just isn't feasible. So if there are opportunities just to give a customer a self-service customer support experience, organizations want to do that partly because they can go ahead and reduce costs. Now, I think the other side of things is oftentimes people don't want to talk to another human either, and they certainly don't want to be on hold in order to get that information that they're looking for. And so chatbots do give you that opportunity, and we can use natural language understanding and artificial intelligence inside of services like Power Virtual Agents in order to give customers those self-service opportunities. And for some scenarios where it might be as simple as just trying to get information about, what time is the store open, what are your hours, what are your return policies, anything like that, those are great scenarios. And even sometimes we can go ahead and transact and go ahead and basically order goods as well without even needing to interact with a human. But there might be some situations where you do need to transfer that conversation over to a live agent. In some case, it could be an escalation. In some case, it just could be a scenario that's more complex and requires some human intervention. And as a result, what we can do is take advantage of both Power Virtual Agents and Dynamics 365 Omni Channel in order to bring this immersive experience together, where we can start off by having a conversational chat experience with the bot, and the bot's able to provide some self-service help. But in the event that that user gets stuck or wants to talk to a live agent, we give them that opportunity. And so it's the best of both worlds, where we can conserve our human capital and give people the ability to do self-service and get responses really quickly. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is the ability of bringing these two experiences together. Before we dive deeper into the content, I wanted to let you know about an emerging community found at serverlessnotes.com. This is a community resource that covers best practices, tips, and latest announcements built on contributions by technology enthusiasts from around the globe. On serverlessnotes.com, you'll find content related to Power Automate, Azure Logic Apps, Azure Service Bus, Azure Functions, and much, much more. Serverlessnotes.com is brought to you by Serverless 360, a portal that is focused on operations and support for Microsoft Azure Serverless Resource. Now, this is a complementary tool to the Azure Portal, and it helps organizations in supporting Azure serverless applications. You can find out more about Serverless 360 at serverless360.com. Now, for those of you that are regular watchers of the channel, you know that I do talk a lot about the Power Platform, but I haven't talked about Dynamics 365 Omni Channel before. So I wanted to take a brief moment just to introduce Omni Channel and explain what it is. And here I've just got a quote. I figured why not just pull something from the community, and this comes from preact.co.uk, and I thought it was a good summary. And so in essence, Omni Channel is a module inside of Dynamics 365 customer service that does provide live chat capabilities to help agents resolve issues online. And so it does provide contextual customer identification, real-time alerts, and knowledge integration to increase the value of self-service web portals. And additional features include routing and a work distribution engine to configure agent presence, availability, and routing rules through Dynamics 365. Now, one of the differences between D365 Omnichannel and Power Virtual Agents is that this is one-to-one chat with a human through this experience itself. And that can occur across a variety of different channels. Those could be social channels, web channels, or even mobile channels as well. But there is no conversational chatbot experience with an actual chatbot here. This is really one-to-one chat. And so this is the difference. When we think about Power Virtual Agents, that's where we're having a conversation essentially with a chatbot, with a machine, versus D365 is around having a conversation with a human. And so today what we're going to do is focus on the integration of these capabilities as part of a holistic solution. Now, what I'm not going to go through in this video is how to set up Omni Channel. Sarah Critchley, aka CRM Cat, has done a great job of doing this already I'll include a link to her video in the description. I've used this myself a couple times as I was going ahead and setting it up, and it doesn't make sense to redo this work, especially since she's done such a great job with it. So go ahead and check that video out if you're interested in setting up D365 Omni Channel in 7 minutes. Now, it's 7 minutes worth of work. It does take some time to actually provision all of the components, but go ahead and check out that video for more info. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about Power Virtual Agents and the config that is required to help to address this handoff scenario. So inside of the settings, inside of Power Virtual Agents in the Maker portal, if we click on the gear, we're going to see this transfer to agent link. And when we click on transfer to agent, we're going to go ahead and see this experience. And we can choose whether or not we want to use D365 Omni Channel as our agent solution, or if you want to bring your own engagement hub. And I'm not going to go too deep into that today. There are some industry standards or principles that can be used, and as long as the live agent system of your choice has implemented those, it should work with Power Virtual Agents as well. But for today, we're going to focus on D365. Now, once we go ahead and click on the D365 icon here, we'll get transitioned to an experience where we need to provide a Power Virtual Agents application ID. So where do we go ahead and create that? Well, we do that in the Azure Portal. And so we go to Azure Portal, we go into Azure Active Directory, we click on app registrations, we then go ahead and click on new registrations, provide a name. In this case, I've provided PVA and OC integration, but you can provide your own. And then just basically fill out the details as you see here. It's not overly complex. We're not actually going ahead and adding more access or anything crazy from that perspective. Once we've gone ahead and registered this application, we want to go ahead and take the application or client ID. And note, this is mine, so don't try to use it. But we want to go ahead and use this application client ID and then paste it into our Power Virtual Agent Maker portal experience. And once we've been able to do that, then we're essentially connecting our PVA experience with our Omni Channel experience. And this is what we'll see is we will go ahead and see that our configuration has been complete and that we have our environment set up. We will have the ability to browse and to see what environments exist and then be able to go ahead and select it. Now, another setting you're going to have to go through is you're going to have to go ahead and enable the Microsoft Teams, basically channel, and this is what helps us communicate across PVA and Omni Channel. And so go ahead and do that. Now, once we've gone ahead and completed that configuration, if we head over to Omni Channel, and this would be the administrative view, and we click on bots, we will see our virtual agent customer service bot has been configured, and we can see our bot application ID has been populated as well. Now, just to provide a little bit of the architecture, and this is super high level, there's obviously a lot of moving pieces under the hood, but I just wanted to give you a high level sense of what's going on here if you're new to these technologies. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Omni Channel Canvas. And so Canvas, think of Canvas much like a chat widget. Like when you go ahead and publish a bot inside of Power Virtual Agents, you can go ahead and get the essentially like the code snippet that allows you to rehost your chat widget on a mobile or web experience, for example. There's other channels naturally as well. Well, we have a similar concept inside of OC where we will go ahead and get a snippet of code for our live chat scenario that we can embed in a web page, and that allows our users to go ahead and to communicate with Omni Channel. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to talk more about this when we get into the product, but we've got a series of channels which allows us to expose our chat experience through things like Facebook and other social media providers. But we also have live chat, which is what we're going to focus on today. As part of work streams, that essentially allows us to route requests. And we can route requests into queues, and queues essentially have users or agents that are assigned to those queues. And in our scenario, we're going to have two situations. One, we're going to have our bot, which essentially is a user inside of Omni Channel listening to one of these queues. And then what we're going to have is another user, which happens to be a live agent, also in a queue. And what will happen is we will route the request to the appropriate queue based upon the scenario. So when we're just trying to do deflection, we're going to route it to the bot queue. And when we want to escalate, we're going to go ahead and route it to essentially the human queue, where we can go ahead and have a customer support person ready and willing and able to go ahead and fulfill that chat. Now, in terms of the Power Virtual Agents, so what happens is when we get essentially a request into our bot queue, we're going to route that to Power Virtual Agents. And using this approach, we can take advantage of both system topics and user topics, which allows us to have a conversation through that experience. Now, what happens is as we're having that conversation, if the user wants to escalate, for example, indicates they want to talk to an agent, we can then go ahead and send that request back up to Omni Channel so that it gets placed into our agent queue so that we can go ahead and have that conversation with a live agent. So very high level overview. We'll see a little bit more of this when we do the demo, which is next. So let's go ahead, let's jump right into the demo. Okay, let's start in Power Virtual Agents. And here I haven't really done anything unique to this specific bot. I just went ahead and provisioned a bot, and when you do that, you do get some sample user topics, and that's essentially what we're going to leverage for today. As I showed you earlier in the slides, we can go ahead and look at our transfer to agent settings by clicking on the gear, and then we can see that our chatbot has successfully been configured already, and so that looks good. Now, what does happen is when we do get an escalation trigger phrase, such as talk to agent, talk to a person, etc., this is the system topic that will get called. And as a result, the transfer to agent action here will be invoked, and we will transition back to Omni Channel. So that's all of the configuration that I've done for this example inside of PVA. Now, if we flip over to Omni Channel, and now I'm logged in as an administrator, this is the administration experience as part of Omni Channel. And sort of the areas that we want to focus on here is chat. So we create a chat channel. In this case, the one we're going to focus on is this agent chat channel widget. So we can go ahead and click on this. And when we do so, we're going to see our HTML snippet, which we will embed as part of our website experience. And so this is the code snippet right here that I've referred to. We take this, we copy, we paste it into an HTML page, and life is good. I will show you that here in a little bit. As part of this experience, we're also including a pre-chat survey where we are going to be looking for the end user's email address. So this is a publicly facing chat experience. They're not authenticated. We're going to use email as a key. Now, what's interesting about pre-chat surveys is that when we use specific question names, which have a specific value, in this case email, what will happen is Dynamics 365 Omnichannel will go ahead and try and do contact matching. And we're going to see that where when I provide an email address of someone that already exists in our system as a contact, it'll automatically load that contact into context so that our customer support person will know exactly who they're dealing with and any sort of questions or communication that's happened in the past. Now, another important piece here is this work distribution and what's known as a live stream, or a work stream rather. And so here what we've got is the live chat work stream is configured for this specific chat widget. And what happens is when we head over to it, this is where our routing will take place. We've got some configuration here that's important. Capacity is one of them, which means for every time this work stream is called, a capacity value of 10 will be allocated. And so this helps to deal with your agents and ensuring that they have enough capacity and they're not trying to handle too many chats simultaneously. On top of it, presence is important. So when an agent has either available or busy status, they can potentially get requests routed to them. Now we're going to jump ahead to routing rules because this is super important. And so what happens is we've got two routing rules. One is for our live agent, one is for our PVA bot. So let's start with PVA bot first. Now, what makes this important is this condition. And so there's this notion of context variables, and obviously I'm going through the stuff at a very high level. This generally takes way more time to go through, but just wanted to give you some context. So we've got a context variable called VA scope. And when the VA scope context variable does not contain data, then what we'll do is we will route the request to the PVA bot queue. So what's interesting about this specific context variable, this is a value that will get set from PVA. So what we know is that if this value has not been set, that means we haven't had an escalation, and as a result, we're going to route this back to our PVA chatbot. Now, when it comes to our live agent scenario, our routing rule is going to look a little different. We're still going to use the same context variable, but in this case, VA underscope contains data. And so how this works is when we get an escalation, so we're chatting with our PVA bot, we say, I want to escalate to an agent, then PVA is going to actually populate this context variable, and as a result, we know it has data, so this request is actually coming from our PVA agent itself. So the other thing that we've talked about, so this will go to the agent chat queue, and that's where we configure these these queues here. So we've got a default queue, which we won't talk about today, but we've got the agent chat queue, and this is where we go ahead and assign users or agents to be part of this queue. And we say in this case that every agent has a capacity of 100. Now this is an arbitrary value. This doesn't mean percent. So previously we talked in the work stream that every capacity was 10, which would mean Kent can handle 10 chats simultaneously. That might be a bit of a stretch. You might want to sort of tweak those values down, but this just gives you a sense of the capacity itself. Now, if we go back and we want to look at the PVA bot queue, we can see that this is a higher priority versus the agent queue, which was 2. This is 1. And in this case, the capacity is, what is that, like 2 billion? And so as a result, we know that our chatbot, and this is a user essentially, right? We saw this earlier in the slides. We have this user, which happens to be a bot, but this specific bot user can handle a huge amount of requests. And that's how that is all configured. So let's go ahead and let's give this a shot. Let's go ahead and run this specific demo. So we're going to go over to our agent chat widget. We're going to copy this script. I like to use just W3 Schools. It just provides you a very simple way of hosting this chat widget. So we can go ahead and paste this in, go ahead and click run. Naturally, if you have your own web page, go ahead and include this widget as well, and that'll work. So what we see on the bottom right-hand side here is we have this Let's Chat widget. The other thing I do want to call out is that we do have an agent who has an online available presence that's able to go ahead and accept requests. So we're going to see here this shortly in action. Okay, so I've organized my windows just so this is a little bit easier to see it in real time. So on the right-hand side, I've got my chat. I'm the customer. On the left-hand side, I'm a live agent who is available. So I'm going to go ahead and click on live chat. As I mentioned before, I'm going to get asked for my email address as part of a pre-chat survey. At this point, Dynamics will be able to look me up based upon my email address. And at this point, we're just getting the conversation going. In this case, we can see that our virtual agent, customer service bot, has provided this information. So this happens to be part of the greeting topic that is in Power Virtual Agents. And so here, what I'm going to be interested in is store hours. So I can go ahead and type store hours. And what this is going to do is actually going to go ahead and give me the store hours for the Redmond and the Seattle stores. Now, this was serviced through a user topic inside of PVA. Now, in this case, I'm going to say no, that didn't answer my question. Okay, and then in this case, it's saying, would you like to talk to an agent? And I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I would like to talk to an agent. Because what I'm really interested in is when the holiday hours will take effect, right? So it's not giving me that information. So what's happened now is that inside of Omni Channel, I'm now getting prompted to basically service this request because I am available and I do have capacity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on accept. And my chat widget will now get loaded. And here you'll notice that we do have Kent Weir. It has been detected, once again, because of that contact matching, which is pretty cool. and we can go ahead and see all of the conversation that has taken place so far. So me as an agent, I can quickly take a look and see the questions that have been asked. So now what I'm going to say is, "Hi Kent, how can I help you?" And that will then get sent over to our chat experience as a customer. And here I'm going to say, "I am interested in knowing when holiday hours take effect." And in this case, I'm going to say, "Holiday hours take effect after Thanksgiving." Then I can just say, "Does that answer your question?" "Yes, it does. Thank you." And then I can go ahead and close out this chat as the customer. And then what we'll see is that our customer has ended the conversation over here. So we can't even end this because it already has happened. And then we could go ahead and add any additional notes that we wanted to. We can actually see that a case has been associated with it and look at any other details here as well. If there was knowledge base articles that we have published, we would be able to access them from this experience as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead and X out of this, and this will close out the session. Now, one thing I will call out is once you've had essentially like 6 turns with the customer, you'll start tracking their sentiment. So you can get some insight, and I'm sure it'll be pretty obvious too if someone isn't happy, but you'll get to see these indicators, which actually do get recorded, so that you as a customer organization have the ability to track the sentiment of your interactions with your customers. So I'm going to go ahead, let's close this out. So hopefully that was interesting for you. I think it's a pretty cool technology, the way you can sort of bring these two experiences together. Having been involved in quite a few PVA projects lately, I do find that this is a very popular scenario of having chatbot experiences for deflection and then naturally being able to escalate to a live agent as well, and to use those people where it really matters, right? On the cases where it's not something that can be addressed through a conversational chatbot. All right. So that concludes this episode of the show. Thanks for tuning in. I will be building upon this video in another upcoming video where we'll go ahead and find a way to extract the chat transcripts from Omni Channel. And then that allows you to go ahead and store those elsewhere if you wish. Once again, thanks for checking out the channel, and we'll see you soon. Take care.